get all this going.
I guess I don't need my AirPods or anything.
It sounds pretty good. We're good. As long as we don't get feedback. And I
Okay.
haven't heard too much, so I think we're good there. Okay, go live on Instagram. We're good there. Go over to Twitter or X or whatever they're calling it. Good old Coke Zero Cherry, which Target never has anymore.
Oh,
It's like the Great Hunt. I don't know why I'm drinking the cherry stuff lately. I used to drink it all the time. Now that I like it, I can never find it again.
we find it at Publix. It's always at Publix. The
See,
Coke Zero Cherry.
you guys are so lucky to have Publix. If I had that, I'd be having that.
Expensive. They're way too expensive.
I'm sure our grocery stores are probably equally expensive, but I'd be having the chicken tender pub sub all the time.
Yes.
Oh, I think it's so good. It's so big. Like
I hardly ever have one of those. Every once in a while.
Because Scott and I got, it's the first thing we do. When we're down there, we get the rental car. We go to the one over by Animal Kingdom. There's one over there. There's a Chick-fil-A by it in a gas station, and there's a Publix, and we go in there and get that chicken tender pub sub thing. But my goodness, that thing is enormous, like for a sub sandwich. And they put like 6 chicken tenders on it that are enormous. Like you really only need half of that thing. But I did finish it. I think I didn't need to, but I did. I'm not a quitter. I'm not quitting. All right, so we get this going here. Hey, everybody. Happy Wednesday. We're here with Ashley down in Atlanta by way of Tennessee.
Hello.
So we are getting ready to talk. We're going to talk 2 trips, Walt Disney World and Disneyland today. We're going bi-coastal. So, and we're going to even talk some Disney store. That's what I'm excited about. I like when we get to talk about stuff that we never talk about on the show. So that's going to be fun.
All right.
Shopping malls. The Tiffany and Debbie Gibson mall tour of the 80s.
Yes, lots of mall tours.
I worked at a Chick-fil-A at the mall for like 3 weeks, and I said, it was a Christmas time. I was like, this is too hard. I'm going back to working at the skating rink and just playing music and drinking Pepsi. Like, this is not worth 10 cents an hour more. This is way too hard. All right. Here we go. So what? This is 2478. We're coming up on 2500. Okay, here we go. Welcome to episode 2478 of the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman for BeOurGuestPodcast.com and one of the senior agents over at the Magic for Less Travel. Happy Monday to you. Hope you had a great weekend, and we are so excited. Well, we're not so excited that we're headed back to work, but we're so excited that you're here going back to work with us because we're going to keep you company with a great trip report. And today, now we know last week we had great response to Simon, right? He was recording with us literally at 2:00 in the morning across the across the pond over there in the UK. And shout out to Simon for staying up late with us. I'm just excited that today we get to head relatively close geographically down to the state of Georgia, Ricky's backyard here to Atlanta with listener Ashley. And we're only one time zone apart as we record this show. So just for my guilt, I feel a little better. And I'm super excited because we get to talk about 2 destinations in one show and a place that I know is near and dear to probably 95% of our audience's heart. And we can hardly visit. I don't think we can visit it at all anymore. So Ashley, thanks for coming on the show today. We're going to have a great time. Let's talk some Disney. How you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks. How are you? Good.
I'm great. I love doing these Monday shows. And I'm telling you, we were talking about this in the pre-show. Simon, he actually, I don't know if it's Simon or you could, because you were talking about this too. Is it Simon that's the legend or is it Sully that's the legend at this point?
Probably Sully. Probably Sully.
So too.
I'm a little intimidated to follow that one up, but here we go.
Me too. I'm like scared to come into the studio at this point because it's like legendary. From that show. I don't know what happened. It blew up. I was getting emails, getting tweets. I was getting Facebook. I was like, holy cow. But hey, we appreciate that. So anyway, we're gonna have a good time today talking about your trips. But first of all, as we do, we're gonna talk about because we want to talk about how you met your husband and all that stuff. This is almost like How I Met Your Mother. We're not going to talk about that sitcom from back in the day. We're going to talk about something else. But where does your Disney fandom start prior to what I'm kind of trying not to say yet? But
Sure.
like, even your childhood, did you go early to the Disney parks? Never? Did you watch the movies, TV shows? Like, where does your fandom kind of pick up for Disney?
I would say when I was little, my sister and I have a twin sister, and we used to listen to the Mary Poppins soundtrack going to sleep every night. My mom's record from that time. So we listened to that all the time going to bed. And then we would watch the Disney movies, of course, when I'm so old that they would re-release them in the theaters every 7 or so years. And so we would go to the theater. And then, VHS came about. So we watched them there. My first trip to Disney World was when I was 9 years old. I went with my sister and my grandmothers, both of them, and my mom, and loved Epcot from that time on. So, it just kind of has always been there. So I've just always loved it.
So let me ask you, I love hearing, those early memories. So when you look back on that first trip, you said you loved Epcot, but is there a memory from that trip or like an attraction that sticks in your head from that trip, or a restaurant, or, some like core memory you made during those early trips?
Well, yeah, I'm kind of nostalgic about Epcot. So I loved Spaceship Earth, of course, but there was one with a robot trimming hair. I think it was maybe Horizons or something like that. I just remember really loving that ride. And so, I loved those old nostalgic Epcot rides.
That's see, that's the thing is like, I've done all these podcasts now, we're coming up on episode 2,500 here in the next month or so. And it's one of those things like I didn't get to experience Horizons, and I was actually in Epcot when it was there, but I'm part of the problem, right? I walked right past it I was only there a couple times when it was still there, but it was like dead, right? It was nobody was going on it. I thought, oh, it's boring. No, nobody does it. And I missed my opportunity, and so many people come on that were there at the time, like, oh, it's the greatest. Like, people would do anything now to bring it back. And I love hearing that because, of course, right now, I think my favorite ride at Walt Disney World is Living with the Land, because I think it truly represents what Epcot was with edutainment, right? It's a slow moving attraction where you learn a little bit. It's kind of fun, it's probably not everybody's thing, but where do you fall with Living with the Land? Is it one of your favorites, or do you think it's a little bit too
for sure? This last trip, I didn't go on it, and I was really sad because we just couldn't fit it in. So yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites.
Good deal. All right, so now we're going to talk. We got to talk about 2 trips today. We're going to talk a little Walt Disney World. We're going to talk a little Disneyland, which I love both, so I'm super excited about that. But first, who used to say Julie Chen on Big Brother? But first, that's her line as every show starts there on Big Brother. We're going to go back to the 90s. Picture Taco Bell. All the pastel. No, we're not going to talk about that. But we are going to talk about shopping malls, because this is kind of, like I said, How You Met Your Husband in a place that many of us listening to this show revered, because none of us got to go to Walt Disney World or Disneyland or the Disney destinations as much as we liked, unless you lived in Orlando or lived near Anaheim. I was in Missouri, so I never got to go, financially, it just wasn't feasible. But the one place you could kind of get your Disney fix was at our local mall at the Disney store. So give us that backstory that you gave me in the email, because I was like, oh, I want to hear about this because I love this place.
Yes, well, of course, Disney store is near and dear to my heart, so I really miss it. But so in the 90s, it was 1994. I turned 18. I was old enough to go apply, so I went and filled out my application and got a job and worked part-time. That was the next 15 years of my life, but but in the 90s, of course, when I started there, it was Lion King was the big movie coming out. We were selling VHSs all the time, with the lithographs, which your audience may remember collecting. So we did a lot of that. And then my husband came in about 3 years in. My husband transferred to my store from Atlanta, where he grew up. And he was in Nashville for a time. So we met there and fell in love and got married.
That's how it goes. I mean, I married the teacher next door.
Right.
The best place to meet a spouse, saying it's at work. I'm just saying
Yes. Yes.
HR doesn't like it, but too bad. Just
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
So
Then we moved to Atlanta and transferred to a store there. And yeah,
So
kept on
give,
going.
give us a couple memories though of the Disney store, because just as somebody who grew up casually, like I mentioned in the pre-show, like the place I worked like through my teenage years all the way through college, besides working, my dad owned a mobile DJ company. So every Saturday night I would go out and DJ a wedding reception or a prom or something here in St. Louis. And my dad paid me well because like you could pay, you charge pretty big money for like a wedding, it's a big deal, like a wedding
Mhm.
reception or like a high school prom. So he would give me decent money so I could take care of that. But during the week, I was the DJ and I managed a skating rink. I managed the rink, but I also played the music to kill the time during the sessions and all that stuff. Just because, otherwise I was just sitting around being bored all day. But then my buddy got a job at Chick-fil-A and he's like, dude, I make like 20 cents an hour more than you're making. So I'm like, I want to make 20 cents more an hour. So I'm going to go get a job at Chick-fil-A with you. And it was Christmas time at the mall. And I mean, this was like in the 90s, right? So, it was the only Chick-fil-A, I think there was maybe two in St. Louis. Like that was it. This was before like there were Chick-fil-A's everywhere and there were no standalone Chick-fil-A's. They were only in malls. Now in Georgia, it was different because we used to see them driving to Walt Disney World. But in Missouri, they were only in malls, like until a few years ago, even. And so it was insanity. It was like Black Friday at Chick-fil-A at the mall. I mean, even on a Wednesday, Tuesday, it didn't matter. Like there were lines everywhere. And I'm not good with stress, like on the front lines with like a cash register, or like they had this position called boards where you were like the person behind the cash register, where you were just in charge of like throwing stuff on trays and in bags. Like just basically you're like an assembly line worker.
Uh-huh.
I was like, I'm out. I did it for 3 weeks and I said, I cannot handle this. I'm going back to the skating rink and just eating hot dogs and drinking Pepsi and playing Sir Mix-a-Lot while people, speed skate. This is way more my style. So yeah, working at the mall though, I have a lot of memories because I used to hang out at the mall a ton, as in middle school, high school. But what about you for the Disney store? I mean, because I used to go in there a lot. I just remember like the Tower of Plushes, like the big, screen showing movies in the back. And I remember I used to buy Birnbaum's guides there. And I think you could even buy theme park tickets there, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, for sure. We did sell the tickets and felt at the time that I was some sort of expert, with all the tips. And yeah, Birnbaum guides, all the figurines we used to sell in the 90s and all the Halloween costumes for the little kids to dress up in the fall. And Christmas time was always kind of a magical time there. It was really the cast members that we worked with that made it. It was just a phenomenal place to go to work every day and just magical all day long, really. I mean, I know it's work, and of course it felt like work sometimes, but we got to create magic for those local guests every day, and it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of kids that came in and they couldn't get to the parks, and their moms would say, they can't get to the parks. What is there anything special that y'all do? So we would sometimes put pixie dust on them and let them turn around and all kinds of fun things. So I've got lots of stories like that, but it was a great place to be. So
super cool. That's super cool because again, it was almost like an outreach center to me. It was like I can't go to Florida, but I can go in there and just have this small semi connection to the place that I love. And I think a lot of us kind of felt that way. It was like a little Disney in our backyard. Now, one other thing on that, and then we'll go on to your trips. Did you ever have any like promotion in your store, like with a tie-in with a movie release or something that had like anything like that was like super special at your store that was kind of fun?
Oh, well, yes. One year we had we were promoting Snow White on VHS or DVD, I can't remember, but it was back in the 90s. And we used to have mall tours that would come through or character visits, and they would be characters from the parks that would come. Cool. So I remember during the Snow White pre-sale, Snow White and Dopey came to our store, and my husband's store in Atlanta got Mickey Mouse. And so we got to see the characters sometimes, and they would come, I guess it was just like the parks. They would go backstage for a little while and rest, and then go back out on stage and, interact with all the guests and everything. So anyway, that stands out for sure.
That's definitely super cool. Okay, cool. I was curious about that. That's excellent. Now, one of the other things that you mentioned in your email that really struck my fancy was that your husband, who works apparently in IT, he was kind of in the development with the magic bands, which I'm a huge fan of. Now, say what you will about Genie Plus and all that, but I love magic bands because they're convenient. They help you open your doors. They help you charge. I'm an Apple Watch fan, and it's kind of like the extension of a Disney, Apple Watch. And it was early, and I'll be honest, I was down at Walt Disney World as part of a media event when they introduced to the media the magic band, and it was called My Mobile Plus. They walk us around all over property. Samantha Brown was there at this event and like talked to us about travel. They wined and dined us for like 3 days. But I remember sitting in Liberty Square. There's a building next to the Sleepy Hollow where you get the waffle sandwiches, and in between there and Hall of Presidents. They had a room set up with these magic bands, and I had never seen one before in person. They weren't released yet, and they were telling us all about how they were going to work and all these different colors. Now, they weren't as exciting as they are nowadays. They were just like solid colors, but they talked to us about My Mobile, and that's what they called it back then. And I have all these pictures from it, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And for the most part, the magic bands are. I mean, I use them now on the cruise ships. Like I bought one for the Disney Wish, and I'm going to use it on the Fantasy this summer. So what does your husband kind of think about that journey? Because that's something that's stuck around that has become very useful and very, it's more interactive now with the fireworks and so forth. I mean, I think it's a guest positive for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, our first time using them was this past trip that we're going to talk about, but as guest of Disney World. But his team for his company they were the, I guess, testers. They did the testing of the magic bands before they were rolled out. So he would go down there about 1 week every month to his company had an apartment down there, and they would test those. So we really enjoyed using them this past trip.
I love them. So tell them I say shout out. They're awesome. And I tell them over the years, I've spent way too much money on magic bands, but definitely not as much money as Scott. Scott has so many magic bands. That guy has an illness. Like anytime there's like a festival magic band or a DVC, that guy, he must have 100 magic bands. I have a lot, but I have a lot of the ones they used to send you. Now, this is the nostalgia trip. Remember when Walt Disney World used to send one for every guest with every trip? That's why I have a bunch. But
yes, okay, so we messed down on that.
Yeah, they used to send them every trip. Every guest got a free one. I mean, think about that. Like that, I have 100 because like a lot of times I would stay at 3 different hotels on one trip. Right? I'd say like 2 nights at Pop, 2 nights at Coronado, 2 nights at an All Star. Then 4 people in the room. Every person would get a magic band for every hotel stay.
Do you link them together and put them on your Christmas tree?
I've seen people do that. Yeah. And the old, like I had them all on my microphone boom at the old house, and you start trying to figure out that they take over. Like, what should I do? Finally, my wife's like, you got to do something. Like these things they got to go.
Well, I just have the one. I just have one.
My wife started yelling at me. And then the cast members like, you got to deactivate these things in your account. This is why nothing works for you when you go to like try to open your hotel door. This is why. I was like, you're right. I get it. All right. So what you want to talk about? You were talking about Disney World first. I think that was the first trip for you, right?
Yeah. So we went back in August of 23, and it was our 25th wedding anniversary. And so we were planning another trip, but I had been really missing Disney because it had been about 9 years since we went. We did some other traveling and just didn't get back to Disney World for a while. And so one day my husband came downstairs and he was like, check your email. There's something interesting in there. So I checked my email, and lo and behold, I had tickets to Disney World. So he surprised me with tickets for our 25th. We thought it was appropriate since we, met working for Disney. So we went back for that trip, and we were planning to stay at All Star Music, I believe. And we got there late at night and walked in, and the pool was really loud. So we were right across from the pool, and it was open late and the music was going. And so we had just gone down to the reception to see if we could go to a quieter maybe area. And they said, how about an upgrade? Do you feel like a princess room at Riverside? So we were like, okay. So we got upgraded and stayed the next week there. So that was exciting.
That is a nice upgrade. I can totally picture. There's nothing wrong with the All Stars, but they have. This is what I say with Pop Center, right? There's a lot of energy
Right.
in those hotels. There's just a lot of. I mean, a lot of sports teams tend to stay there. I'll be honest, a lot of cheerleaders stay there. Our cheerleaders will be staying there in February of next year,
Yeah.
probably. And it's just, they're fun, but yeah, kids will be kids around pools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved the rooms. I loved the look of the rooms. I thought they looked amazing with the refurb and everything, but it was just loud. The room we were in just was a little bit loud. So
I only get those rooms like when I'm at marathon weekend or race weekend when I got to get up at 3:00 in the morning and I'm trying to go to bed at 8. It's nobody's fault. Like it's 8:00. If people are on vacation, you should be screaming and having fun in the pool. But
right.
I'm like grumpy old man, like yelling at the clouds. Go to bed, people. It's 8:00.
Yes. They just said it's a little bit quieter there, so maybe you would enjoy that better. So we were fine staying where we were, but we did appreciate the upgrade for sure.
So what do you think of Riverside? Just real quick. I mean, just give a quick review.
It was nice. I had visited it before and just looked around, as one does sometimes, hotel hopping to look around. And so I liked it. I thought it was very quiet, and yeah, we loved it.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more peaceful than All Stars.
Yeah.
There's a different vibe over at Riverside because it's spread out. It's more gardens. You got the river. Yeah. Whoever that cast member they read the room for an anniversary trip. They read the room.
They were like, maybe that was the way to go.
Belt of the cast member. All right, so you guys have 4-day hoppers. It looks like in day one you went over to the studios, and Galaxy's Edge was pretty new at this time. So
yeah, that was definitely high on our list because we just really wanted to. We didn't look at any spoilers because we wanted to see it all for the first time and experience it. My husband is a huge Star Wars fan. Just as a side note, my son is named Luke, and that was the only name that my husband came up with when we were deciding on names. So that's how big a Star Wars fan he is, that we have a kid named Luke. But anyway, so yeah, we just wanted to see Galaxy's Edge. We loved it. I mean, we were blown away by Rise. When you walk into that room with all the stormtroopers and everything, we loved it. We planned it for the first day so that we had ample opportunity the following days in case we didn't get on a ride or something. So
well played. Now I got to ask you, have you guys got the blue milk at your local grocery store, your Publix?
No, we have not. I've heard it's coming out, but I haven't gotten it.
I've seen it all over social media, and my wife she went to the grocery store on Sunday, and I hadn't told her about it. And I'm like, bam, did you happen to notice something in the dairy aisle? She's like, what? I was like, did you get milk? She's like, yeah, I got milk. I'm like, did you see if there was blue milk? She's like, blue milk? Why would there be blue milk? I'm like, apparently from May the 4th this year, there's blue milk in grocery stores now.
Well, I guess that's the way we can try it.
Yeah.
We didn't try it while we were down there. So
I haven't either. But I mean, I'd be good for like a little half gallon here at home just to give it a shot. It'd probably taste terrible, but it'd be fun. Instagram. That's what's made. I'll be, I mean, it'd be kind of fun to do on Instagram. Anyway, so you guys loved Rise. Any highlights though from that first day? Because that first day is always the best, right? You hit the ground running. You're fresh.
Yeah, definitely. We were there all day. We forgot how tired our feet could get at the end of the day. So, but yeah, we stayed there all day. We did, I think, everything to do in Hollywood Studios that day. We missed out on Fantasmic, but I think that's the only thing we didn't accomplish. But it was our first time seeing Toy Story Land. We had never seen that, so we loved walking through there. We got to see the toy soldier drummers, so that was fun. And yeah, we loved it. I mean, as far as a standout, we did get to, I think we just experienced Galaxy's Edge again and again throughout the day. So we just liked to be in that place.
It's a way to do it. Now, the next day though, you did Magic Kingdom and Epcot, kind of split it up, but you also had some shirts that you made. So tell us about that.
Oh yeah. So for our 25th, I had some shirts made up and just talking about celebrating our 25th anniversary. And we wore those all day and got a lot of comments from cast members and guests that were in line with us, shouting out happy anniversary. So it was a lot of fun. That was a standout memory. Definitely.
And then here in the notes, because I was confused when I first read this a couple of days ago and you sent this, you said you got all these compliments from cast members and fellow guests, and I love that. That's why, it's good to wear the buttons or have, matching shirts or whatever when you're celebrating a milestone. And congratulations on 25 years. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
But you said you also had excellent water. So I was like, the Florida water can be, people have opinions. But tell us what you meant by excellent water.
I don't know why I even put that in my notes, but anyway, it was just a memory. I had spent a lot of time researching randomly where to get water because I was like, it's going to be hot. I don't want to spend $7 on a water bottle every time I'm thirsty. So we had researched that, but the funniest part was that I ended up having to go to the first aid center that day, which they're very nice over there. But I had put sunscreen on and it just went into my eyeballs, I guess. I don't know. It was stinging. My eyes were stinging. I couldn't open my eyes during the Peter Pan's flight and the first rides we were riding. And so I had to go wash it out randomly at the first aid center. And so they offered us some water while we were there. And they said, don't forget, we have the best water in the parks. So anyway.
Peter Pan's flight's probably not such a great ride if your eyes are closed. I'm just saying.
Well, we had to rewrite everything because my husband was nice enough to be like, let's go rewrite the rides that you couldn't open your eyes for. So
see, that's what 25 years of marriage does. You do that for your.
So we rewrote Haunted Mansion, Small World, and Peter Pan because I couldn't see them the first time.
You're true when you do that many rides with the sun. If I'm a baby, it'd have been one ride. That'd have been the first date. I would not have done 3 rides like that.
Well, I tried, like everybody talks about those tangled bathrooms and they were really pretty, but that's where I went to try to wash out my eyes. I don't know. It was the first aid guy said that this happens to a lot of people. So if it happens to anybody, go to first aid. They know how to help you. So
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. See, that's somebody I need to get on the show because I'm sure they have 1,001 stories and probably half of them they could tell on the air.
Right.
Okay, so the last day of this trip, you guys explored Animal Kingdom. So give us a few thoughts over Animal Kingdom.
Right. Well, again, it had been 9 years.
We didn't talk about Epcot. I skipped that. You guys did Chefs de France that night, did you not?
Oh, yes, for our anniversary. Yeah. That's the restaurant we remembered liking when we used to go all the time back when I worked for the company. And so we were there a lot. So we did like that restaurant back in the day. So we thought, well, let's try that again for our anniversary. So, but yeah, we loved it. It was delicious and the service was great as usual. So.
Let me ask you this, because you said you back in the day you went there. Did you feel it had changed over the years, or did you feel it had stayed almost like it felt like a
time warp to me? It felt exactly like how it used to. It looks exactly like how it used to look to me in there. I remember.
I was wondering if you said that because I've eaten there a few times, and it feels like it's exactly the same looking. Like there's a few places that change over the years. That place. I don't know. Like I didn't eat there in the 80s, but I feel like it probably looks exactly like it did whenever it opened. Like
it does. Yeah. And we were thinking about maybe we should try somewhere newer, more exciting, but I don't know. We liked it. So, but the funny part about that day was that my husband had never, as many times as he's never seen the French film at Epcot. The
Impressions de France. Scotty G's favorite and mine. I love it.
Yes, it's one of my favorites. So I was like, ooh, they've got a showing. We need to go. And he was like, what is that? I was like, how do you not know about it? So we went and saw that, and he did love it. I was like, it's like a early 80s time warp in there, that film, but it is wonderful and relaxing. You can get cooled off. So great. So he had never seen that before. I couldn't believe it.
Makes you want desserts, and it makes younger folks cringe when people fly down the hill on a rickety 10-speed and in like jorts and no helmet.
Get on a hot air balloon and float through the sky a little bit. So,
and I always wondered what became of the old couple at the end of the film.
Oh yes, and the couple on the boat.
Yes. Seriously, Scott and I are going to do like a Mystery Science Theater 3000 show about Impressions de France. We have so many questions. Right. We both love that attraction. Anyway, okay, so let's talk Animal Kingdom as we wrap up. Then we'll head out to Disneyland because we got to talk about that too. But go ahead.
Yeah, well, so Animal Kingdom, because it had been a while since we had been there, we hadn't seen any Pandora. So we were super excited to see that. And we had heard how great Flight of Passage was, but until you experience it, you don't know how great it is. It became, I think, our favorite ride at the parks to be honest, besides, the old nostalgia ones that we love. But yeah, we loved Pandora. We got some sort of pineapple cheese snack roll and walked around and rode the ride and ate at the restaurant there. I'm blanking on the name, but
it's got to be a Satuli Cantina.
yes, that's where we ate. We loved that. So I don't know, the whole area was really beautiful. We didn't spend a whole day there. We went and saw the Lion King show. Because we have been before, and my husband doesn't ride a lot of like roller coasters, so we skipped Everest, and we for some reason didn't even do the safari, but we really just were there to explore Pandora, and we loved it.
Good stuff. All right, now let's head to Disneyland. We're going to go out west, and tell us how did this trip come together, because you got surprised with this Walt Disney World trip for your 25th anniversary. Tell us about how you ended up at Disneyland.
Yeah, so one of my very good friends, she texted me one day and said, I've got a companion flight ticket I'm going to Disneyland, and I've got a free companion flight ticket. Would you want to go to Disneyland? And I wasn't working at the time, so I had time to go. And so I thought, yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to go because I've never been. And I was excited for the chance. I justified it with the free flight. So I got my tickets and we were off. And it happened to be about 3 weeks after. It was a very quick planned trip. So it happened to be about 3 weeks after my Disney World trip. So
we all need friends with companion passes.
Yeah.
That's a good deal.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. In 3 weeks, kind of made the call. I'm like, here we go.
Yes, we just went, and it was wonderful. I can't say enough good things about Disneyland. I enjoyed every second that I was there. It was all brand new to me. And
let me ask you this though, because if you've been listening to the show, over the past 2 years, I have fallen in love with Disneyland, but I was 15 years I didn't go because I thought I would not enjoy. I'll be honest. I made every excuse in the book not to go to Disneyland. Is that kind of how you felt? How did you, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but how did you feel before going there? Were you thinking it's too small? It doesn't have X, Y, Z. I just kept discounting it because it doesn't have, it doesn't have the boats. It doesn't have a Skyliner. It only, 3 hotels compared to 22 hotels. It's so small. Like I just can't have the same experience I have at World, and I don't have the same experience at World. It's way different.
Yes, very different.
It's just as good. It's different.
I was actually the opposite. I was always wanting to go to Disneyland and experience it. I'd always heard from friends who had been over the years that you really kind of do feel Walt Disney's presence there as a park that he used to, that he built and was in a lot. And so I was super excited to go and experience that for the first time. So I had very high expectations of Disneyland, and all of them were exceeded. I thought that magic kind of oozed from every corner of that place. So
you nailed it with that last statement. That's exactly how I feel about it. Like you do feel, because this is the place that Walt actually walked, and you can, if you are a Disney fan, and you probably are a huge Disney fan, if you're taking the time to listen to our show, you can, in your mind's eye, picture like Walt walking past the Jolly Holiday, right? I can picture him almost bending over and picking up like a napkin off the ground and throwing it in a trash can. It's just that I was doing that the entire time that I'm out there, and it's like when you sit on a bench, you're like, oh my gosh, maybe Walt sat here and looked at this same perspective over towards Frontierland, or I'm always doing that when I have a little downtime, and that could have been the case. The Magic Kingdom didn't happen. It's Walt's vision, but he wasn't physically there. He was physically there at Disneyland, and it's kind of, mind boggling when you think about it, but you're right. And it's just, there's so many just unique, like such detailed touches around Disneyland too. They're just remarkable. I love it. Anyway, so I could go ooze about this forever, but you stayed at a Good Neighbor Hotel, which I did as well when I was there in January for the races. So you stayed at the Hilton Garden Inn Anaheim. So tell us how that worked out, because a lot of people are curious, because it's a lot different experience at Disneyland with the Good Neighbors as to Walt Disney World. Walt Disney World, you really need to be on site, period. But it's not necessarily the case at Disneyland.
Right, exactly. And one thing I was nervous about was, when when we went, would we even feel like we're in a Disney bubble when you go? But outside of the hotel, once you walk on that property, you do definitely feel that way. But as far as the hotel, it was the Hilton Garden Inn. We loved it. The rooms were really nice. The people there were really nice. The people that worked there were fantastic. And it was really comfortable. And it was only about an 8-minute walk to get to the parks. So, and it was very safe, well lit. We felt comfortable, the two of us walking late at night and early in the mornings to get to the park. So, but then definitely, you think, oh, is that magic going to be there when you walk in? Because you're coming off the street, but once you get on that property and you see the parks and you're through the gates, you definitely feel immersed in Disney like normal.
Well said. I've stayed at the Disneyland Hotel twice, and then I stayed offsite at the hotel called the Grand Legacy, which is kind of down the street from where yours was. And I came in the same way. And you're right, it wasn't as great walking in from that entrance and going through that security, because the other way, like I was walking through downtown Disney, and like you feel like the excitement of downtown Disney, walking, past the like kind of the confectionery in downtown Disney, and the World of Disney store, and you hear the Disney music playing. Like, that's better. I mean, I get it, right? Because walking out the Disneyland Hotel, it's almost like a little mini Polynesian with the pool and Trader Sam's. I mean, that's what you're paying for. But you're right. 5-minute walk, you hang a left there, right, whatever, direction you're coming from, there down the street, and you're across the street, and bam, all of a sudden you're seeing the monorail at Disneyland, the buses, and you're in, so it is what it is. You're there quick. It's 5 minutes and then you're in, everybody's kind of even. So yeah, exactly. It's not the same as Walt Disney World, where you're traveling for 30 minutes. So,
right. Exactly.
So you had 3-day hoppers, Genie Plus, the 2 days. Genie Plus. Did you find Genie Plus is like the cheat code for Disneyland? Because that's how Scott and I totally feel. Like,
yes, definitely.
Rides.
I would definitely say to utilize it there at Disneyland. Yes, because you often have less time there. You don't have as many days. There's a lot to see if you haven't been there before. So you want to utilize that and get it all in. So we definitely enjoyed using those. And we did hop. We hopped both of the first days. And then we kind of did our own thing on the third day, because we each had different, goals of what we wanted to accomplish on our last day there. But so we did hop both days. We visited both parks both days and loved. It was so easy because it's right across the street. I mean,
that's the word I always get back to. It's like so laid back, and it's so easy for somebody to Walt Disney World. Like Walt Disney World, when you want to hop, and it's fine. Like, I mean, we all love Walt Disney World, but I mean, if you want to hop from Epcot to the Magic Kingdom, it's an hour. Like, say you're standing at, I don't know, pick Frozen Ever After in Epcot, right? Back in Norway. And you're like, I want to hop and we're going to ride Pirates. I mean, if you get from one to the other in an hour, you are cooking.
Exactly. And this was very fast. We just hopped over on that first day to ride Soarin', and then we hopped right back over. So it was like, we just wanted to ride one ride,
Literally, like at Disneyland, you could go from Pirates to Soarin' probably in 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. That's one thing we loved about it. Another thing was just how chill it was. I would say the vibe was very chill compared to Disney World. And they're both wonderful in their own ways. I loved both of my trips equally, of course. But, in the heat of the summer at Disney, there's a lot of families there that have had their, enough moment at 1:00 in the afternoon. And they're all like,
we're wringing the magic out of that vacation right now.
And there's that few hours in the heat of the day doesn't feel so chill. But then Disneyland, it just felt very chill the whole time. So it's just a different vibe over there. I guess it's because it's a lot of locals or whatever. But I just love the atmosphere,
Maybe humidity amps up the pressure. Maybe that's like the Southeast has humidity, and out in Anaheim, there's very little humidity, and everybody's just chill. Maybe we can blame all that on humidity.
Well, it was actually very humid when we went. We were, in fact, our Uber driver to the hotel was like, I can't believe you're here this day because it's so humid. They weren't used to it. She was like, I've never lived through this before. And anyway, it was funny. It was funny because I was like, this feels like Florida. I thought this was supposed to feel different, but it cooled off by the third day. So
I was gonna say we were there in July, and every day we had to have on sweatshirts at night.
well, my sister my sister lived in California a couple times because her husband was in the Navy, and she was like, you're going to need a jacket every day. So I packed all these warm layers, and I never needed them. But we were just there, like just in this weird 4-day period of high heat.
Yeah, that was half the novelty. Like we were there over the 4th of July, and we were there for 7 nights, and every night we had on a sweatshirt. I was just like, because we usually go to Walt Disney World that same week, and I mean, you're just at night at Epcot, you're just like, oh my, if I just can make it back to the hotel without dying, because you mean you've just been sweating all day, your clothes are wringing wet. You're like, I'm gonna stay and watch the fireworks at Epcot. And I might just jump into the pool when I get back to my hotel because I'm so wet. It doesn't matter. I'm just keeping my clothes on. And nobody will know. Just that's how hot you are in Florida because you're wringing wet because it's the day is just wore you out. And you just feel so much more fresh. I just couldn't get I wasn't as tired because the world, the humidity hadn't beaten me to a pulp. Anyway, so, give us some highlights though. What did you enjoy maybe better at Disneyland, or what did you find as like a tip for our listeners if they go to Disneyland, they should make sure that they don't miss this?
Oh, well, of course, I was looking forward to the Storybook Canal boats.
I love those. I can't believe there's a couple things I can't believe are a thing out there. It's the Storybook Canal boats and the canoes, because there's so many times you could just slip and fall right into the water. And I can't believe in 2024 they let you still do this, but thank God they do.
Yes. So yeah, exactly. Everybody sit down together. So
right. Yeah. I mean, do people follow directions nowadays?
Well, how many people have fallen out of the boat to make them say that? Anyway, we love those little boats. I thought it was fun. And I really loved Small World better there. I think it's because it's all the actions on I decided all the action is on one side, not both. So you're not constantly looking around trying not to miss things while you're going through. You just can really settle in on what's there. I ended up riding Small World 3 times while I was there. I just loved it that much. I can't explain it. I felt so happy on it. It was longer, and I don't know. I just loved it. And so I like that. Pirates was longer, so I enjoyed that. What else was there? There was something.
You mentioned too in your notes that you over DCA, you enjoyed the Marvel take on Tower of Terror, which is their Guardians attraction.
Yes, thank you for reminding me. So I don't watch any Marvel movies. I hate to say, I've never seen one. I don't know. I don't know what they are. I don't know anything about it, but I really did like the land, and I appreciated the details that went into it. We watched, Spider-Man fling across some buildings, and that was fun. But the Guardians of the Galaxy ride, I can't remember what it's called, but the Tower of Terror.
Yeah, I'm trying to think because it was right outside my hotel when I was there for offsite. I was right across the street from that. It's Mission. Is it Mission Breakout?
Maybe so. When I need to know a name, I can't recall anything. So.
Now that when you're live on the air, your brain goes brain.
Right, but yeah, we love that. And then there was a really special moment we had met a friend out there for the afternoon when we were in the Avengers campus, and they have a son who he just loves Disney himself. He's around 10 or 11, I believe. And he would make costumes that matched kind of the Disney cast member costumes. So that day he had on one that sort of resembled a cast member from that ride, the Mission Breakout ride. And so they loved his costume when he came through there, and they let him put on their vest and hold their flashlight and do the things and say the things. So that was a really cool memory. They went above and beyond with him in that line. So that was fun.
I love when cast members see the opportunity to make a day like that, and they do. That's the best. Okay, a couple of things I'm going to ask you about. Okay, so you mentioned you loved Mickey's Fun Wheel or whatever it's called nowadays, the big Ferris wheel, DCA. And so I got to ask you, because said your friend didn't. You didn't, did you? The spinny cart?
Yes, we did the spinning one. And I had to, because that was the thing I was probably most looking forward to at Disneyland. And that and seeing Cars Land for the first time. But she did not want to get on it with me, but she did.
She's
And
a trooper.
she held on to the cage, the whole time while I squealed with excitement because I was having so much fun. And we were in there with another really nice couple, and they were saying that they were like, "Where are you from?" So she was saying, "Well, I'm from Nashville." She's from Nashville. I'm from Atlanta. And she was like, the lady across from us was like, "Oh, Nashville, that's where they have the hot chicken." And it's like, no, it's where there's country music. It's Music City, USA. It's not. But I guess this Nashville hot chicken is taking over. So
yeah, there's a chain in St. Louis. It's called Nashville Hot Chicken. It's right down the road. We have a place.
It's just
called
funny
Nashville
that she thought that's what it was known for. And was like, no, it used to be country music when I lived there. But anyway, I guess it's now hot chicken.
in this house, it's country music. I mean, my daughter has got a part-time job, and her first big purchase is going to be real cowboy boots. So
I gotcha.
And we got to take her to Nashville. I'm like, Mallory, you're 16. Nashville bars. Like, you
gotta go to the boot store down there and get her boot.
That's what I told her. I was like, but you can't do much down there until you're 21. So
right, exactly.
We'll take you later. But okay, so we're not. There you go. A little shout out for Nashville. But you mentioned Cars Land. Cars Land blew me away as well when I went out there a couple of years ago for the first time. It's my favorite land of any land at any park, even Galaxy's Edge. I like it better than Galaxy's Edge. That's my second favorite land.
Yeah.
So what did you like the most about that land?
I think it was just the detail. I don't know. I just walked in and I felt completely immersed in it. And just the way they decorated it. We went there in the fall, so it was decorated for Halloween. So they even had, like the different cones and different cars, things kind of dressed up for the holidays, I guess you could say. And I mean, we ended up just sitting there for probably an hour, just sitting on a bench and just kind of soaking it all in, really. We just loved how it looked and how it felt, and it was a lot of fun. We loved it. It just looked so cool with the mountains in the background, and I don't know, I loved it.
It is like sitting in the movie. I mean, it's got the neon, it's got the Flo's V8 Cafe, you got the cones, little cozy cone where you can go get all your little snacks, and then you got, Sarge's little store, the army, little metal place, and then you got I think too, the underrated things are the two kind of minor attractions outside of Radiator Springs Racers, which is incredible. I mean, that gets all the headlines,
right?
I love the Luigi's little little cars. Those are so cute, especially at night when you ride those. At the end, they all sync up together, and everybody puts their hands up and they do a little spin. Like,
yes,
that I love that. Like, maybe I'm getting old, but that was so awesome.
No, we sat on that, and that was one of the funniest experiences we had. My friend and I were just sitting there going. We were riding Tow Mater, I guess, and it would just jerk us around, and we weren't expecting it, and we laughed so hard on that ride. It was just a really good memory, just laughing together on that. So
I think that's kind of a lesson too for like all of our Disney trips is like, don't discount the small things. I mean, we always go there and say, I got to do Sora and I got to do, Cosmic Rewind at Epcot, Guardians is the big thing. So I'm getting this virtual queue and I'm getting up at 7 a.m. to try to get in, or Tron at the Magic Kingdom, or, what have you, Flight of Passage. And they're, they all have their thing. But also sometimes, don't miss a chance to go on alien swirling saucers with your kid, or, because they're going to get a kick out. Like you mentioned, Small World 3 times.
Why did I do that?
But it's awesome.
I know my kids make fun of me because my favorite attraction at Disney World of all time, going back to Disney World, is Hall of Presidents. It is my absolute favorite. I love it. I can't explain it. I've always liked it. I like presidential history. And so I always drag my kids in there, and they're like, "Mom, the Hall of Presidents again." I'm like, "It's air conditioned. You'll be fine."
You're talking to a former teacher here, and I love history. So I love that. We're always trying to find firsts, and after 16 years of podcast, it's hard at this point, and that's a first. There you go.
Well, I'm getting a shirt. They have a shirt that I found a shirt that said Hall of Presidents on it. I'm getting it for my next trip.
I love that. That's so awesome. Oh man! So we got to wrap, but as we kind of close out these two trips, what have you learned kind of from these two trips, maybe that you would share with our listeners? Because you've had a lot of great tips, just kind of recapping your stories, that people could learn to make their trips better. But is there like one more memory that kind of stands out from either trip, either with your husband or with your friend out at Disneyland, or just something that you would, share with our audience that maybe might help them have a better trip to either one of these destinations here moving forward?
Yeah, well, for Disneyland, I would say definitely utilize Genie Plus, and don't be afraid to go if you're thinking, I don't know, I love Disney World so much. I don't know if Disneyland is going to be it for me. If you're into Disney Magic at all, I would say definitely take a trip out there. I'm going to go back. I just fell in love with it, and can't believe I waited this many years to go, to be honest. So definitely we'll go back there. For Disney World, I would say just being there after such a long hiatus. I mean, we were people who went all the time back when, my life was immersed in Disney at that time, and we were at Disney World a lot, and just being back and re-experiencing it, knowing also that it's been through the COVID and everything, and that we were just felt really lucky to go back. So I don't know that I have any tips necessarily, but
That's good stuff, though, because you're right. I mean, for 15 years, I made excuses not to go to Disneyland. Then when I went out there, I'm like, Mike, you're an idiot. Like, you lost 15 years ago to Disneyland. This place is unbelievable. Take the chance, go.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, one of it was I didn't fly, and that was another stupid thing. Like, why was I scared to fly for 10 years and I drove, 15 hours?
My dad was always afraid to fly, and we drove everywhere growing up. We drove to Wyoming, we drove to everywhere, and we would just take 3 days and have to get somewhere over the course of that many days in a van. So my dad was the same way. It's so funny. I get nervous on planes, but I will fly. So
my girls are probably scarred. I mean, they never complained, right? Paige, Mallory, like that was just what they did. They just got in the car, and we, got in Trailblazer. We just right down, 75, 24 to 75, right through Chattanooga. I mean, you go through those mountains in Chattanooga about 2:00 in the morning, just white knuckle it.
Yes.
Awake for 24 hours, man. That was way more dangerous than getting on an airplane for 2 hours. It was like, my wife was just like, went along with it. Like, I can't, my family loves me. Like, when I look back, like, I can't believe like we are flying or we are not going. And they did that for years. So,
you took them through that Atlanta traffic. That's
at 2 in the morning, it would be like rush hour in St. Louis. It was ridiculous. I'm like, where are these people going at 2 in the morning? There's 100,000 people out.
It's always busy. It never stops.
Yeah, your city's wild. He's like, here I am, right from St. Louis. 2 in the morning, I always try to time this. I'm going through in the middle of the night, and you're on, that 75 loop or whatever, where you're going past Georgia Tech and all that, the Gold Dome and all that stuff. So, and you got the Flame on the one side and the Varsity and all, downtown. Of course, I'm, in traffic, tired because I've been driving since St. Louis. And of course, though, I got to like rubberneck and look at all the tall buildings, because all the tall buildings have all the lights on them. And so I'm like, look where you're going. There's 8 lanes, and the 18 wheelers. Yeah, that was always a hairy, half hour through there for 3 miles. But
yes, definitely.
Yeah, I'm glad I fly. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. There's so many great memories, and wow. I love talking about Disney Store too, because are there any more Disney? I don't think there are Disney stores.
I think there's maybe a couple left in the States. Maybe New York maybe still has one. I honestly don't really know. I think London has one.
I thought there was like, I know you said maybe one in Times Square or something.
Yeah. I think so, but I really miss it. Just the nostalgia of it, and a lot of my raising my family in their kidhood. I worked there and spent all my holidays there, and come holiday time every year, I really, really miss the camaraderie of all the cast members that I worked with and everything. And I really miss it. So
we need to bring back Disney stores, skating rinks to their prominence, and blockbusters.
Ooh,
and the world would be better. I'm just saying.
Sure would.
That's our 2025 goal. We'll try to work on that next year. All right, Ashley, thanks again. Hey, May the 4th coming around, so make sure you get some blue milk for your husband there.
Yes, I sure will. Thank you.
All right, thanks again. All right, don't forget today's show brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. We'd love to help you plan that next Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line, or Adventures by Disney trip for no additional cost to you. Check out all the details today over at themagicforless.com. Please also use our Amazon affiliate link. It's beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. Costs you nothing extra. Just click through that link and it supports us throughout the year. And thank you to our Patreon supporters. You guys make all these shows possible, and I cannot thank you enough for that. Just $5 a month and you become one of our patrons, and you'll get a bonus show every week. It's called Mike in the Midwest. So come on over today, patreon.com/beourguestpodcast. I'd sure love a follow this week on the social media. I'm at Be Our Guest Mike on Twitter and Instagram, and you can follow me as well on Threads. And we want you to join us in the clubhouse. That's where we talk about this show and every show and all kinds of Disney topics and non-Disney topics. We just have a good time. The listeners hang out. We have over 800 listeners over there now talking Disney 24/7. How do you get in the clubhouse? It's absolutely free and it's fun. There's a Discord app you can download to your phone. But if you want to get there right now, just go to beourguestpodcast.com/Discord and you're in. We'll have fun. I'll be looking for you this week. Also, Sunday night, Scott joins me. We'll be taking your calls on all the places: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. And 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central, we'll be looking for your calls because it's the BOGP open line. So give us a call and we'll talk Disney with you. All right, time to get out of here and wish you a great week. We'll be back again on Wednesday with more of your listener questions. So for Ashley down in Atlanta, I'm Mike here in St. Charles, Missouri. So until we get back together again, you guys stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon. That was awesome. Thank you, Ashley.
I feel like I did terrible. Oh.
What are you talking about? That was great.
Okay.
We got to talk about the Disney Store, Walt Disney World, Disneyland, and you had so many good like little stories and tips. That show's gonna rock. I mean, I'll give you. You didn't have a 5-year-old that said you're gonna meet you at the pool with my belly, in 5 minutes. Nobody can do that. I mean, what are you gonna do with that? You can't compete with 5-year-olds.
Oh, well, I definitely struggled. I had a lot more. I had my notes sitting here, but I didn't look at them. And I'm sure there was a million better things I could have said. But anyway,
that was a good show. That was I loved it.
Well, I appreciate you leading the conversation. You're very good at this, so I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And tell your husband thanks for the IT support, and I hope you get some blue milk for the for the May the 4th celebration that you hopefully guys have down there. And tell him for real, I am a Magic Band fan.
Okay.
So I appreciate his work that he put in on that project.
Well, I wish he was up here. He could talk to you a second about testing them, but he's not up here. So
no, he's smart. He's probably doing something fun.
Well, if I have any questions, I can call him up here. He can be up here in 2 seconds if you have any questions about it.
That's right. I do Disney for a living 24/7.
Okay.
That's my life. I have the My Disney Experience helpline memorized. So
yes, I'm sure you do.
I pass it off to them. All right. I'll see you, Ashley. I'm going to get up for Monday. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye. All right, you too. Bye-bye.